In case anybody doesn't know, I'm Jen Rower. I'm the cantor here at the temple. I am joined here on the bima this evening by Kaden Greenblatt and Esther Goldstein, who are going to help us lead the service. I'm thrilled to have them up here, and we're going to start this evening actually with another special welcome. I want to welcome our guest this evening, Dr. Marcy Paul of the Partnership Together Consortium, who is here visiting and working with our community on programming. So we're so happy to have you with us as well. We're going to begin with some spirit tonight with Romamu on page 135. On page 120 with the lighting of the Shabbat candles. And I would like to invite forward Marshall and Jody Goldstein and Mark and Denise Greenblatt to lead us in the candle lighting with gratitude for lending us your children this evening. Come on forward.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us.
As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
Mm-hmm. Just read the blessing.
Atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu v'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Our next song, actually, it is just now occurring to me, I forgot to put it on the song sheet, so I apologize about that. So it'll be a listening moment. But this is actually a prayer we chose that's usually done in the morning, but it's such a beautiful tune. And it talks about gratitude for our bodies and our souls, which some of us will be sort of engaging in more tomorrow at yoga, which everyone's inviting to. So this is Asher Yatzar. I'm in the wrong key, right?
I thank you for my life, body and soul. Help me realize I'm beautiful and whole. I'm perfect the way I am, and a little broken too. I will live each day as a gift I give to you.
Continue now with Lechado D on page 138. La 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 la, Lechado D. La 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 la, Likrat Kala. La 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 la, Pnei Shabbat. Pnei Shabbat, Lecha. ואתפלל. גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגלה. בואי כלה, בואי כלה, יאי לי לי, יאי לה 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 חדורי, יאי לה 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 כלה, יאי לה 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 בני שבת, בני שבת נקבלה, יאי לה 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 חדורי, יאי לה 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 נקרא כלה, יאי לה 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 בני שבת, בני שבת נקבלה. We turn now to the Chatzi Kaddish on page 144.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah ve'alma divirach hirutei ve'amlich malhutei b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael bagala bagala uvizman kariv ve'imeru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach le'alam ulal me'omaya yitbarach yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha barichu Elan min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amin ram b'yama ve'imeru amen.
Please rise for the Baruch Hu on page 146.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared?
Continue on page 146. Just kidding, 148 in the Hebrew. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, bechokma poteach she'arim, uvitvuna meshane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umesader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, uma'avir yom umevi layla, umavdil bein yom uvein layla, Adonai tzvaot shemo, el chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, ha'ma'ariv aravim. The next song can be found on your song sheet.
This is the sound of one voice, one spirit, one voice. The sound of one who makes a choice. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of voices too. The sound of me singing with you, helping each other to make it through. This is the sound of voices too. This is the sound of voices too. This is the sound of voices three, singing together in harmony, surrendering to the mystery. This is the sound of voices three. This is the sound of voices three. This is the sound of all of us, singing with love and the will to trust. Leave the rest behind, it'll turn to dust. This is the sound of all of us. This is the sound of all of us. This is the sound of one voice. People, one voice. A song for every one of us. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of one voice.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Please be seated. We continue with the Ve'ahavta on page 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך בדיבר טעם, בשבתך וביתך, ובלבתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיהם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, אדוני אלוהיכם.
We continue reading responsively on the bottom of page 157. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there's one God in heaven and earth.
The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love.
From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way.
Prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Work for the day when the nations shall be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
We continue now on page 161.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkivenu, L'Shalom.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our
Sukkot
shelter from
Shlomecha. Hashkivenu,
Hashkivenu Adonai
Eloheinu,
Eloheinu L'Shalom. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from lies. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
Give thanks for the peace and the beauty of Shabbat on page 162. Please rise for the tefillah on page 164.
Adonai Sefatai Titach Uviagi Tehilatecha Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Ve'Elohei Avotenu Ve'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzhak Ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Shara Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Ve'Elohei Leah Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor V'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei HaKol V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imaot ומביא גאולה לפני בניהם, למען שמו ואהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מחכה חיים וחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רמים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסירים, ומקיים אמונתו ישנה עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומקיים, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכול. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. The next prayer is not found in your prayer book. It's called Tfilat HaDerech by Rabbi David Seidenberg. May the holy desire come from you, Adonai, our source and our ancestors' source, that you will lead us toward peace and make our every step be a step towards peace, and our path be a path of peace. May you help us reach the true target of our desire, life, joy, and peace. Rescue us from all enmity and ambush and theft and predation, from all impulses to harm that confront us on this path, and from any dangerous complications that may arise from the passions that come into the world. Bless our actions and handiwork, and grant us grace, love, and compassion in your eyes and in the eyes of all who behold us. For you are the one who is listening to hear the prayer of every mouth, of every creature. Blessed be you who listens for prayer. We continue now with our prayer for peace, Shalom Rav, page 178.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Ki ata hu melech adon,
Lecho hashalom,
Ki ata hu melech adon, Lecho hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha,
tasim le'olam. Shalom
Rav al Yisrael Amcha,
think now of those in our families and in our community who are in need of healing. If you'd like to share the name of someone in need of healing, I invite you to do so now. We join together in the Misha Berach, our prayer for healing on page 371. We pause now for a moment of silent prayer. This week's Torah portion, Parashat Shmini, begins with Moses giving Aaron instructions pertaining to the sacrifices, explaining that this is what God commanded. He gives instructions for what animals to get, explains what types of sacrifices they're for, and everyone gathers at the tent of meeting. But even though Aaron has been designated as the high priest, when they get to the tent of meeting, Moses has to give his brother an interesting instruction. Kirav el hamizbeach, he says, come close to the altar. The rabbis wonder, why would Aaron need this extra urging, given that it is his job to come close to the altar? And they conclude that it is because of his timidity, that even though he is appointed as the high priest, perhaps it is his nature to hang back out of the spotlight. Once Moses urges him to come close or step up, he does. So the rabbis view Aaron's timidity as a positive attribute, one that might balance out any inflated feelings of self-importance he may have due to his priestly role. He only needs to be asked to step up once, and he steps forward and carries out his priestly responsibilities. In today's chaotic world, it can be difficult to discern or decide how and when and where to step up. There's so much need. It can be paralyzing or numbing, or simply make our heads spin. Tonight, I'd like to share the story of a close friend of mine who recently stepped up in a major way, traveling to Poland to help friends that were evacuating from Ukraine. He shared his experiences in an essay that not only gives us a view into what is really happening for these refugees, it also ties in some thoughts about his own experiences as a refusenik and reflections on the Jewish experience. Here are some excerpts from his essay in his own words. I was born in Soviet Ukraine in the late 1970s. I lived in Kyiv as a child through the 1980s. Our family were the last links in a large Jewish chain of migration that spread through the 20th century, resulting from Russian pogroms in the early 1900s. My family left in 1989 as refugees and settled in Los Angeles, California. I have roots in multiple Ukrainian towns and shtetls that go back 300 years. To this day, I still have friends in Kyiv that I kept in contact with for the past 33 years, but I have never been back. In February 2022, as early images of Kyiv being bombed reached television and cell phone screens, it was quickly understood that this wasn't a military action, but an all-out war that was about to create a large humanitarian catastrophe. My first concern was the welfare of my friends and their families. I knew that I couldn't simply donate to a Ukraine fund and remain far off in sunny California. My friend managed to evacuate to Warsaw, and her husband was drafted into the Territorial Defense Army. With the help of my local Russian-speaking immigrant friends, I started raising funds to help equip his unit. They lacked even basic gear, and the necessary equipment and goods were even more valuable than money. My friend managed to coordinate a volunteer transport involving Polish, Ukrainian, and American drivers that move goods to the Polish-Ukrainian border and hand them off to other volunteers on the Ukrainian side. On Friday, March 12th, I packed 3 suitcases full of merchandise and flew to Warsaw. When we got there, we immediately went to work assembling and repacking goods, including items previously ordered from Polish suppliers. We passed the supplies to our volunteer contact and received a phone call the next day that all our supplies made it safely into Lviv, Ukraine. The next day, we went to the Polin Jewish Museum in Warsaw. Immediately, multiple associations and historical parallels started forming, especially from the exhibits dealing with World War II and the Holocaust. It felt like events from 80 years ago started appearing again in the 21st century. bombing of civilian cities, tanks rolling through Europe, trains of refugees stretching from the Polish-Ukrainian border, and of course, the work of partisans, smugglers, and volunteers, passing anything from children's clothing to bulletproof vests. We collected more supplies to send to Ukraine, going around Warsaw, gathering shoes and clothes. I connected with Beit Polska Jewish organization and aided them in receiving a donation of 20 suitcases of clothing. We unloaded them at the Jewish Community Center in Warsaw. The Jewish Community Center of Warsaw was an amazing, eye-opening experience. The entrance to the center was decorated with Polish and Ukrainian flags. On the bulletin board were images from the Polish Jewish magazine Midraz and a poster that read, "Long live free Ukraine." Inside the center, women labored sorting donated goods, clothes, toys, healthcare supplies, medicine, and other items needed by Ukrainian refugees for survival. Throughout the center, workers spoke in Polish, Ukrainian, Russian, Hebrew, and English. I canceled my flight home to help escort my friend out of Warsaw to Frankfurt am Main via Berlin, where refugees have to go through an additional control. On the way there, our train stopped 85 kilometers from Warsaw, and we were stuck for the next 7 hours. Rumors quickly started spreading that the cause may be a Russian cyber attack on Polish trains. After 7 hours, our train entered Rojepin, where everyone was asked to disembark from the train and travel by bus. We couldn't get on the bus because it was intended for Ukrainian refugees, and I am a US passport holder. Instead, we got on a train to Berlin. The ride on the refugee train allowed me to spend some time with the people on board. I met a young girl, and naively trying to lighten the mood, I asked in a friendly tone, "How are things back home?" To which she replied with one word, "Nightmare." In front of me were first graders that were chatting away about things they do back home, such as dance classes and martial arts. Many joked and laughed, as if they were merely traveling in European trains instead of escaping the brutal horrors of war. Most were confused about what happens next at each train stop. Volunteers were waiting on platforms and offering directions and food. At one station, I opened the train window and reached out and grabbed juices and sandwiches for kids sitting next to me. Already in Germany, I was trying to help identify final stops for people to exit and translate into Russian. It felt extremely odd, having an American passport in my pocket and knowing that at any moment, I can simply find I wasn't escaping anything and was in these circumstances voluntarily. However, as I continued riding the rails with the refugees, I realized that I have seen this somewhere. Their faces were very familiar to me, and I can absolutely sympathize with their situation. This train ride greatly echoes events from 1989, when Soviet Jews were refugees in Europe and were taking the train route from Vienna, Austria, into Rome, Italy, across the Alps. The difference was a lack of smartphones 30 years ago for quick travel updates, aid, phone service, news, and occasional entertainment for the children. However, help from the volunteers and response from Western Europe was similar. As my journey comes to an end and I fly out for Los Angeles, I am reminded of the Jewish prayer, Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. How beautiful are your tents, O Jacob, your dwelling places, O Israel. So I recite, how beautiful are your people, O Ukraine. I want to thank my friend Igor for sharing his experiences in this thoughtful essay. And I invite you to turn again to your handout for a prayer for refugees. Hear the echo of voices from Egypt, cries of sorrow and tears of despair. sorrow for firstborn children slaughtered on the altar of Pharaoh's power and greed. Hear the cries of indigenous people, grieving the loss of children and land, their songs silenced and history forgotten, walking with death on a long trail of tears. Hear the cries of the mothers and fathers whose children were stolen and lost, driven from home by war and oppression, waiting in vain at the border of freedom. Hear the voices of the 25 million seeking refuge, shelter, and home. Afghanistan, Mexico, Jordan and Iran, Bangladesh, Syria, Uganda, and Ukraine. May the day soon come when the arrogant are humbled, greed is replaced by compassion and love, when there are no more strangers wandering the earth, and all people have finally found welcome and home. Blessed are those who wander. Blessed are those who gather them in. I would like to invite Dr. Marcy Paul to the Bema for some words of welcome from Partnership Together. Welcome, Marcy.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
The song that you sang, One Voice, oh my gosh, it resonated, and I realized how much I needed to be here tonight. One Voice really sums up our partnership program, our partnership world, our partnership together. And I want to just, listening to those words from your friend Igor, I returned this past week from Israel, where I was meeting with our new staff. I'm new to my position, and I was meeting with our staff in our partnership office near in Mate Asher in the Western Galilee. And so much of what we did for 2.5 weeks was work to help the people of Ukraine and the people in the surrounding areas that were also becoming refugees. And this is how I explain partnership. One voice, two voices, and all of us together. So we were on a call with our partnership is a consortium, 16 U.S. cities, Budapest, Hungary, and the Western Galilee of Israel. Mate Asher, which is a municipality, a large grouping of many villages, kibbutzim, moshavim, and cities and towns, and also Akko. And we were on a call with our Budapest partner, and she was telling us what was going on in Budapest as she sat in her office at the Israel Cultural Institute. And she had tears, and she was crying because there were 700 people coming through their building every day looking to escape, looking for freedom, looking for help. And they were doing everything they could to help them. In the Western Galilee, in our partnership, we also were helping. We were retrofitting homes for families, 20 families who were coming to the kibbutzim in the area. We were getting them ready to live there, hopefully to make aliyah. And one of my meetings was with the community center director of this area. And he said to me, Marcy, most importantly, what I want is when the kids come and the families come, most of them, of course, coming without the men, we want to make sure that they have a seamless experience. If they were taking violin lessons at home, we want to make sure they have violin lessons here. If they were playing sports at home, we want to make sure they have sports here. Our partnership gave them a gift of $20,000, and our partnership communities from around the U.S. gave them supplies, and I know all of you in Toledo, as part of our partnership, raised quite a bit of funds for the Ukraine. That's partnership. One voice, two voices, and many voices coming together. And our mission statement, which I'm very proud of and just brand new, sums it up. Interconnecting our partnership communities to strengthen our individual and collective Jewish identity. While partnership takes place at the Federation, we are all in our Jewish community here part of partnership. We are here for Israel action, we are here for Israel advocacy, and we are here to be partners in everything that we do. So thank you, and again, Shabbat Shalom.
And with some announcements this evening, our president, Dr. Janine Hutner.
Hello. Please join us tomorrow morning at 10:30 for Shabbat morning yoga. We won't have yogurt either. Sunday, please also join us at 3 p.m. at the Temple for an afternoon concert series featuring musicians from the BGSU College of Musical Arts, an afternoon of song, a variety recital of voice students of Metropolitan Opera star Myra Merritt. This performance will feature classical art song, opera arias, and maybe even a little Broadway. Hope to see you there. Please check our March bulletin for details on our Mini Mitzvah Day project. Our theme is Volunteering Builds Community. We have many, many projects that you can volunteer to help with on your own time schedule. When you decide what you want to do, please contact Grace. And in the coming weeks, there'll be lots of gardening to do. So if you enjoy doing that, please, we need your help. Planning is currently underway for Camp Kayetz from June 13th to 17th for children ages 2 years old to the 4th grade. Please register as soon as possible. Information and registration form is in the March bulletin. On Sunday, April 3rd at 4 p.m., there is a free lecture sponsored by the Jewish Federation and Foundation of Greater Toledo and the Ruth Fagerman Markowitz Holocaust Resource Center featuring Father Patrick Dubois. Father Dubois is a renowned Catholic priest who will review the findings of his decade-long investigation of the war crimes committed by Nazi death squads in Eastern Europe during the Holocaust by bullets. His lecture will be at the Franciscan Center of Lourdes College on Convent Boulevard in Sylvania. Please also mark your calendars for Friday evening, April 15th at 6 p.m. for our congregational Seder. Shabbat Shalom.
We continue our service now with the Aleinu, which can be found on page 586. Please rise.
Shalom, Asanu, Kigoye, Haratzot,
Please be seated. Our thoughts turn now to those who are no longer with us, our loved ones whose lives continue to inspire us long after they are gone. Tonight, we especially remember Elizabeth Muggsy Klein, who died in recent weeks and for whom the period of Shloshim is still being observed. We also remember those whose yahrzeit, the anniversary of death, is observed this Shabbat. We remember Samuel B. Adler, Dr. Saul T. Asnes, Mervyn Berenson, Mac Carlin, Suzanne Davidson, Shirley Dolgen, Max H. Elias, Helen R. Fox, Joseph G. Gluck, Samuel Grassgreen, George Joseph Gross, Simon Heilbronn, Angela F. Hirsch, Lori Katz, Marvin S. Kobacker, Emily Ern H. Krawitz, Sophie Levy, Fanny I. Myers, Max Noodleman, Isidore Odeski, Matthew Oken, Sarah Sally Porras, Alex Raymond, Hope Joyce Romanoff, Dr. William M. Shapiro, Shirley Kaufman Silverblatt, Leslie E. Thal, and Lillian Weinstein. We rise now as one community and recite Kadisha Tome, the Mourner's Kaddish, page 598. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divarach hirute v'yamlich malchute, B'chaye chon u'v'yome chon u'v'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'yimru Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lalmei al-maya. Yit barach v'yish tabach v'yit pa'ar v'yit romam v'yit naseh. V'yit hadar v'yit alev v'yit halal Shemei dekudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush b'chata v'nechamata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei shalom araba min Shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And we say together, Amen. We will close our service this evening with Shir Hamalot, which you can find on page 635 at the bottom. Shabbat Shalom, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Shir Hamalot, Yeshuv Adonai, et Shivat Zion, Hayinu kechomi. Az Yamalei Smok Pinu, Ulshonenu Rina. Az Yomru V'Goyim, Yigdil Adonai Lasot Melech. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Now, before you go, listen to me very carefully. We are going to be joining together for Kiddush in the foyer like we used to do. So if you would like to join us for Kiddush, this has been very confusing lately, please exit through the back door so you can get your wine or grape juice and challah. Shabbat shalom.